Are you looking to design the perfect website, or well, it doesn't have to be perfect, but a really awesome website for your business? There's a few components that I'd like to mention to you before you get involved in this project so that will save you tons of time and frustration. In just a moment, we'll get started. Hi, my name is Paul Kluke. I own my own digital marketing business. I've been at it since 2012, and I can tell you that starting a website for your business, especially in the beginning, is an important step to increasing the legitimacy of who you are out there in the business world. So recently, some friends and I got together and we started a business. Now, of course, I have the background of web design, but we had to create a quick site. Well, what we did was we basically created a site on WordPress. And if you're new to designing websites, I actually would tell you don't do that. Don't start there. The reason for it is if you don't have the background, there's just so many opportunities for you to get frustrated in the process. And I'd like for you to avoid that. With that said, there's a little caveat, and that is if you're in a very competitive market, you may need to do things to your website that some of the drag and drop builders don't really give you access to. And those things may be important down the road. So with that said, I think that getting something out there is better than not getting anything out there at all. So I'd recommend that you would, at the very least, start with a drag and drop builder like Wix or Weebly. You could use GoDaddy's builder. Although with GoDaddy, I'm not sure, they probably are by now, but at one point they weren't mobile compliant. You gotta make sure that your site looks great on mobile in addition to regular desktop website versions. Now, there are three things that you'll want to think about as you design your website. The first thing is structure, right? You want to think of it, the most common structure is sort of like logo at the top, contact us button, like a phone number on the right, followed by a menu, followed by what they call a hero section, usually a really attractive image related to your business with some contact options or what they call a CTA, a call to action. Whatever it is that you want that person to do. Maybe you want them to fill out a form, maybe you want them to pick up the phone and call you. Whatever you want them to do needs to be right there at the top. Now, I have run these analytics on sites that actually monitors what people do when they hit a site. And what I found is, you could probably guess this, 95% of the people stay kind of close to the top of the page. Very few people go all the way to the bottom of a website. As a matter of fact, it can be as little as 25% by the time you go all the way to the bottom. So have your most important information at the top of the page. Let it be descriptive about who you are, what you do, and how they can get in touch with you. That all needs to be in the area that they call above the fold. That hero section, the attractive picture, that picture is going to be a massive communicator for your business and for that person that lands on that site. That's the initial snapshot that they're going to have of who you are. Now, one of the things that's really important is that you make sure that that picture loads fast. That first picture has got to load fast. Make sure that you do that. Now, how do you do that? You optimize the size of the picture. What most people don't know is that high resolution photography is really good for brochures and things that you print, but terrible for online. The reason being is that there's just no reason to increase the resolution so much online because it makes the browser take forever to load the picture. Which brings me to the second point. So the first thing that we talked about is kind of like your layout and your structure and what those areas should do. At the bottom, I guess I didn't get through, you have your body section in the middle, which is going to give them more information. That's just going to expand on what you mentioned at the top. And then you're going to have usually a testimonial section, and then at the bottom you're going to have a footer section. The footer section should have some menu links, some links to sort of less important things like privacy, your policy for your website. And don't forget that the 6 pages that you're going to want to make sure that you have on your site are home, about, services, and maybe under services you have a couple of different options. You're going to want to have a pricing page regardless of whether you put the prices on there or not. You're going to want to have an FAQ page and a contact page as well. 7, you want to have a privacy and site terms page as well. Maybe you just link to that from the footer, but in any case, you're going to want to have those in place. Now, you might be going like, well, if I don't want to share my pricing and every job is an estimate, why would I have a pricing page? Well, that's because I actually lost ads. I ran ads for a company, and Google decided all of a sudden they didn't want to show our ads, and I asked them why, and they told me, well, you don't have a pricing. And I said, well, this is for insurance, you know. And so then they said, well, you're going to have to put something there, because when our bot hits that site, it wants to see a pricing and fee schedule page. So since then, I've just made it a practice, and typically I'll write something on there that says something like, you got to contact us here, call us now, whatever, for a free estimate, whatever, however your business works, right? So that's sort of the layout and the structure. Going back to images, number 2, make sure that you're optimizing the sizes of the images. Now, what is an optimized image size? Typically, you don't want to go the width, right? So you have the width and the height. You don't want to go above 1500 pixels wide. So, and for the smaller images, I would usually set those at 300 or 400 pixels wide, and have those, you know, like if you have like 3 service, you know, mentions somewhere in a section in the body, you want to make sure those are smaller images. Now, there's some great tools to be able to modify the size of any picture. One is Pixlr.com, and it's Pixlr.com, and they have a free, free tool to resize of any image. So if you took your picture with your phone, I just want you to know it's going to be massive, right? So you're going to want to resize that image before you load it on the site. It's going to slow your site down if it's huge, and it's just going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to tell you right now, do that. You can also, I use a paid for service called befunky.com, and you could register probably for a free month or something if you had a limited amount. And one of the tools they have is a batch resize, so you can upload a bunch of pictures, resize all of them at once, and re-download it. And that's one of the ways that I deal with that. There are other, especially if you're on a Windows computer, there are other ways to. There's some downloaded free software to optimize photos. Just Google search that and make sure that your images are the right size. So 1500 for the top, and then the smaller images that appear throughout, I would stick between 300 and 500. I hope that helps. The third thing that you're going to want to think about is contrast, okay? Colors and contrast absolutely matter, and you're going to need to make sure that your eye is drawn to high contrast. And if you pull up a color wheel and you look at if you look on my channel, there's a tutorial on like choosing a color for your website. It gives you tons of tools and ways to figure out which colors. But what I want you to think of is that where there's low contrast, and when I say low contrast, think of like a yellow color and then another like a lighter yellow color. Those are real close in color, or a gray and a darker gray. That's low contrast. They're very similar. But when you put an orange on a blue, something that's high contrast, where it's like opposite, red and green and so on, that's where your eye, the consumer's eye, is going to be drawn. So you want to make sure that your call to actions really stand out. So always think that you're moving the eye towards high contrast. Put your most important things where the high contrast is. That's going to help make sure that people see what it is you want them to see on your website. I hope this has helped give you a little bit of structure and framework and direction on creating your perfect, not so perfect, but great website for your business. And I wish you all the best. If you have any comments or questions, certainly feel free to leave them below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button for us, because that helps us produce more videos so we know what people want to see. And I'll catch you in the next video.